The universe had always been a vast, intimidating place, a domain ruled by power and dominance. The weak did not survive. At least, that's what the other species believed. Across the galaxies, on countless worlds, alien civilizations had risen and fallen. Humanity had long been dismissed by the more advanced species as a mere anomaly, a primitive race still crawling in the dirt of their home planet, Earth. But as they had learned time and time again, there was one thing that humans excelled at: surviving and even thriving under the most impossible conditions. Zira, an alien from the planet Taloria, had always known her people were different. Her kind had a long and proud history, known for their advanced technology and diplomatic relations with other species. However, a disastrous event had left her stranded on a remote world, Earth. She had been abandoned by her own people, left to fend for herself in a hostile and unfamiliar environment. Alone, scared, and weak, Zira's once proud heart began to shatter. Zira's fall had begun many cycles ago when an attack on her home world left Tyloria in ruins. While the Tylorian military was well equipped to fight back, it had been a futile war, a battle they were never meant to win. Zira, still a young girl in her society, had been part of a diplomatic mission to a distant planet when the attack occurred. Her ship had been intercepted by an unknown force and disabled, forcing her to crash land on Earth. It had been days since the crash, and Zira had been unable to establish any form of communication with her people. She had tried, over and over again, to send distress signals using her ship's technology, but every attempt had failed. Her body, fragile in comparison to the creatures on this planet, was beginning to give out. Hunger and exhaustion took their toll. There was no help coming, no one to rescue her. Her once glorious alien features were now stained with the dirt and grime of the world that had rejected her. Zira had tried to find solace in the stars, but even they seemed to mock her now. She looked up at the sky, feeling both small and insignificant. Then the humans arrived. It wasn't like any grand rescue she had imagined. No ships from her home world, no galactic armies rushing to her aid. Instead, a group of human scavengers, surviving in the wastelands of a city abandoned long ago, found her weak and starving body lying in a collapsed building. But humans didn't care that she was an alien. They didn't care that she was from a superior species, with technology far beyond their wildest dreams. They didn't care that she was weak, or that she didn't understand their language. What they saw was a creature in need, a living being that could be helped, no matter where it came from. One of them, a young man with scars crisscrossing his face and a rifle slung across his back, approached her cautiously. His eyes were filled with suspicion, but there was also something else: curiosity. He kneeled beside her, offering her water. Zira looked at him through tired eyes, unsure of whether to trust him or not. She had been betrayed by her own people. Could she trust these humans? The man spoke softly, his voice rough but not unkind. "You're not gonna die here. We'll help you." For a moment, Zira thought he was just another alien-looking being trying to manipulate her, but she could sense the sincerity in his voice. Humans, strange and misunderstood as they were, seemed to act from something other than just self-preservation. They didn't leave people to die, not if they could help it. Over the following days, Zira's situation slowly began to improve. The humans, who had been scavenging the remains of a ruined city, offered her food and shelter. They spoke in broken phrases that Zira struggled to understand. But somehow, it didn't matter. Their actions spoke louder than their words. She learned that these humans were not what the rest of the galaxy made them out to be. They were not just mindless creatures who lived by violence alone. In fact, the more Zira observed them, the more she saw a kind of strange beauty in their way of life. A culture built on survival, yes, but also on compassion. These so-called carnivores seemed to thrive on community, on helping one another when it mattered the most. As Zira's strength returned, so did her curiosity. She began to ask the humans questions, trying to understand their ways. They explained their struggles, how Earth had once been a thriving world, but now it was nothing more than a wasteland. Still, these humans had found a way to live. They hadn't given up, even though the odds were stacked against them. It was a lesson Zira had never learned from her own kind. The more she stayed with them, the more she began to see her own people in a different light. The Tellurians, with their advanced technology and pride, had abandoned her when she needed them most. But these humans, with their limited resources and rough ways, had taken her in, offering a kindness that was beyond anything she had ever expected. They had shown her what true strength meant. One day, Zara found herself walking among the humans, helping them scavenge for food. She had learned their ways, learned how to survive on this harsh planet, and slowly but surely, she began to form bonds with them. They were no longer strangers, no longer just humans. They were her friends, her family. But there was more to the story. News of Zara's survival spread across Earth. At first, the humans were met with disbelief, then hostility. Other species, the ones who had once looked down on humans, began to wonder if these carnivores had stumbled upon some great power. Would they rise to challenge the other advanced civilizations? Would they become a new threat? The Tellurians, having heard of her survival, debated whether to reclaim her. But Zara knew one thing for certain now. She had found a new place, a new purpose, among those who had cared for her when no one else would. The humans didn't need to conquer the universe to prove their worth. They didn't need to dominate other species with force or weapons. Instead, they thrived by showing something far more powerful: empathy. Zara had always been told that strength was about technology, power, and control. But as she stood with the humans, watching them rebuild their homes from the ashes, she realized that true strength came from within. It came from the ability to rise up, even when the world around you seemed to be falling apart. And humanity, for all its flaws, had done just that. They had risen. And in doing so, they had saved her.